Test cricket is played traditionally by India and Pakistan, with Sri Lanka and Bangladesh being added, and now Nepal and Afghanistan both playing at a high level one day and possibly qualifying for the ICC World Cup. These countries account for 90% of all cricket fans globally, with other cricket countries like England, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and the Caribbean team, called the West Indies, having a smaller population. Cricket was brought to India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh by the British in the 1700s and was introduced to Nepal by the ruling of the Rana family in the early 1900s. India has pioneered short versions of the game, within the Indian Premier League being the richest in the world. Cricket has lots of similarities to baseball. Pitchers are known as bowlers, batters are known as batsmen, fielders are fielders, the backstop is the wicketkeeper. Balls can be pitched at 90 miles per hour, but the scoring is different. A batsman doesn't have to run after hitting the ball and runs up down the pitch, not around the bases. Many runs are scored with 200, 300, or 400 runs common. And then players can get out in similar ways to baseball. Bowled is a pitch hitting a strike zone, caught is caught, run out is run out. There's an LBW, leg before wicket, which stops a strike, so it would also be out. Another difference is that it's legal to pitch the ball at the batter with the goal of trying to hit and injure and intimidate him. Not very gentlemanly, but a good play. Overall, cricket has the largest influence of any sport in South Asia, bringing people and countries together around the entire world.
Basketball is a popular sport that is played all around the world, including South Asia. Although basketball may not be as widely popular as cricket or football in the region, it still has a significant following, and the game has an interesting history in South Asia. Basketball was first introduced to South Asia in the early 20th century by European missionaries and educators. The game quickly gained popularity among the students in missionary schools and universities, and it eventually spread to other parts of the region. In 1936, the first intercollegiate basketball tournament was held in India, with teams from several universities participating. The sport continued to grow in popularity, and by the 1950s, basketball had become a prominent sport in the region. One of the most significant moments in the history of basketball in South Asia came in 1960, when the Philippines hosted the first Asian Basketball Championship. The tournament featured teams from 8 countries, including India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. India finished third in the tournament, which was a significant achievement for a country that was relatively new to the sport. Over the years, South Asian countries have made significant progress in basketball, with many countries having their own national basketball federations. India, for example, has a long history of basketball, and the country has produced several talented players over the years. One of the most notable players is Satnam Singh, who became the first Indian player to be drafted into the NBA in 2015. Satnam was picked by the Dallas Mavericks in the second round. Standing at 7'2" and weighing 290 pounds, Singh was a highly touted prospect who had played for India's national team. Singh played one season for the Mavericks NBA G League affiliate, the Texas Legends, before returning to India to continue his basketball career. Another notable player was Sim Bhullar, who was born in Canada to Indian parents and played college basketball at New Mexico State University. In 2014, he signed with the Sacramento Kings, becoming the first player of Indian descent to play in the NBA. Standing at 7'5", Bhullar played in 3 games for the Kings in the 2014-15 NBA season before being waived. In recent years, there has been a renewed focus on developing basketball in South Asia. The NBA, for example, has launched several initiatives in the region, including the NBA Academy of India, which aims to develop young basketball players in the country. Additionally, the International Basketball Federation, also known as FIBA, has also been working to promote the sport in the region and has organized several tournaments and events in South Asia. With the continued effort of organizations like the NBA and FIBA, the future of basketball in South Asia looks bright.
Basketball and cricket are 2 very impactful sports in South Asia. People often forget about the most important one: martial arts. Martial arts have dated back to the beginning of time. Many people have closely followed a village rivalry or dispute to watch these events go down. Some famous martial artists you may know are Bruce Lee, Manny Pacquiao, and Mary Kom. These fighters are often looked up to as idols and historical figures. People come from all over the world to spectate fights, not to mention these fights are also highly televised. Young children practice these arts through intense schooling and oftentimes are able to make a career out of the craft. Throughout our intensive history lessons throughout the years, everyone knows how important martial arts have been to Asian culture. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. Various Asian cultures created martial arts by imitating animal movements. Believe it or not, the praying mantis was one of the most influential animals, dating back to prehistoric times. In India, various forms of yoga called Natha dances were later incorporated into martial art techniques. These practices helped calm their warriors and eventually led to Indians becoming the most efficient archers in the southeast. In China, nobles were able to use 108 pressure points to create techniques in order to manipulate the movements of martial arts. Later, it was focused into Chinese boxing and gave a great advantage to their athletes. They were able to pinpoint weak spots in their opponents and create massive success in the sport of boxing. In Japan, young men were transformed into samurai and became proficient in a multitude of weapons. They were a powerful force during the wars that Japan had fought in. Samurais were trained so well in hand-to-hand combat that they became masters in karate. All of these countries combined their arts to form different fighting sports. Boxing, kung fu, karate, and judo became the focal points in all of the sports.
Baseball in South Asia may not have as rich a history as cricket, for instance, but in 2007, a struggling MLB agent, J.B. Bernstein, decided to start a competition in India titled $1 Million Arm, a talent search for the best throwing arms in India. He gained his inspiration after watching ESPN's broadcast of a cricket match featuring bowlers that have bowled at speeds as high as 150 kilometers per hour and realizing that India was one of the largest untapped environments for baseball. Despite being inspired by cricketers, the two winners were 19-year-old javelin throwers Rakhi Sain and Dinesh Patel. Although he did not reach the $1 million mark, Sain signed for $100,000 for the fastest delivery of the contest. Patel won $5,000. They were also invited to the United States to train and try out for the Major League Baseball teams. Eventually, both pitchers were signed by the Pittsburgh Pirates organization and became the first two Indians to play professional baseball. In more recent years, the United International Baseball League was created to serve the Middle East and South Asia and has changed its name to the Baseball United with new owners including Baseball Hall of Famers Barry Larkin and Mariano Rivera. They have both combined for 6 World Series chips and 25 All-Star Game selections. They will serve under the Baseball United's new board of directors. Larkin, who has spent 19 years with the Cincinnati Reds, has spent the bulk of his post-playing career leading international baseball development in South America and Asia. Rivera also spent 19 years with the New York Yankees and has built baseball development programs and academies in his home country of Panama. Larkin has been quoted to saying, "Our new league will not only bring more opportunity to hundreds of professional baseball players from around the world, but it will also be the benchmark for diversity, equality, and inclusion." America Baseball is a $13 billion business with nearly 100 million fans across the U.S. and Canada and a rapid following through Latin America. However, the game has yet to reach South Asia and Middle Eastern sports fans who collectively represent the largest cricket fan base in the world. In South Asia alone, more than 167 million people watched the International Cricket Council World Cup last year, 70 million more than the Super Bowl and 150 million more than the World Series. In contrast to baseball, again fan base, which has been the average age is 57-year-old, cricket fans are among the world's youngest sports fans with an average age of 34. The UIBL has planned to innovate and evolve the game to help capture and engage this younger, more diverse. The main goal of this league is to unleash the new generation of Indian, Pakistani, and other sport heroes that millions of fans will be able to connect with and relate for years to come. Although baseball in the States have a much richer pastime. We play it as kids most of the time, we watch it and listen to it as adults, we pass down our love of the game through generations. Baseball is an American family tradition. This game is closely tied to us in a very personal way, but what you may not realize is how much it is also tied to history. Often referred to as America's national pastime, baseball has had a very active role in the shaping of this nation. From the Civil War to civil rights and all points in between and beyond, the game of baseball supports and reflects many aspects of American life, from cultural to economics and technological advances. It inspires movements, instills pride, and even heals cities. The very first game started during the Civil War time, in a very dark time of our history, and even during World War I and II, where we would have women fill in for the men who were overseas serving our country. The game has also broken the color barrier with Jackie Robinson and the civil rights struggle within baseball. Also, in more modern times, we have when George W. Bush showed the nation's strength as he threw out the first pitch of Game 3 of the World Series just weeks after the tragedies of 9/11.
The new frontier for soccer is in South Asia. After the most recent World Cup, we saw some South Asian teams beat world soccer superstars in the tournament, with Japan and South Korea beating Germany and Portugal. We may now be witnessing a complete revolution of the sport. After doing some research on what makes a country good at soccer, there were three major criteria that must be met: large population, high GDP, and a soccer tradition among the citizens. In past times, many Southeast Asian countries could only meet one or possibly two of the criteria. Most of the countries in the area have high population numbers, so the only major component would be to add or increase in GDP and tradition. As developments continue in countries such as Japan, GDP is now exponentially growing within the region, allowing soccer programs to increase facility standards, hire better coaching staff, managing staff, and most importantly, to pay higher salaries for higher ranked players. With these recent changes being made, it is making Southeast Asian soccer more competitive against Europe and South America. Additionally, with the achievements by the Southeast Asians in the 2022 FIFA World Cup have caused drastic increases in soccer popularity within the region. Recent announcements have been made that FIFA will increase the World Cup to 48 teams in hopes that many Southeast Asian countries will qualify. Countries such as Thailand are investing in soccer in hopes of qualifying. In Thailand, the sport has grown so popular that the government has created the Football Association of Thailand. The new program will hopefully encourage neighboring countries to do the same, leading to an overall increase in soccer popularity within Southeast Asia.
I would say hockey, I'm very focused on. Football, I'm like middle focused, just on my favorite teams. In basketball, I'd also say middle focused, but a little bit less focused than football. I did not know that baseball was going on yet. I'm not a big baseball fan either because I didn't play it and it's a little bit slow paced for me. But I do know that baseball is the top sport in South Asia.
Tunwin.
Go.
Okay, so I'd say for UFC, I'm very focused. Lacrosse, I'm middle focused. Football, pretty low focused. And I did not skip class to watch. I didn't know baseball was going on, and I don't really care about baseball because it's boring. I care much more about March Madness because society cares more about it. And then I did know that the top sport in South Asia is baseball.
All right. The sport I was most focused on was basketball. I was very focused on that. And then I was kind of semi-focused on baseball and football. I liked them, but I didn't love them like I did basketball. I did know the Baseball World Classic was going on, but I didn't tune in. It was kind of just a thing I saw on Instagram and whatnot. I am a baseball fan, and I think the most popular sport in South Asia is definitely soccer.
My favorite sport to watch is the UFC because it's very exciting. And my second favorite sport to watch is lacrosse because I played lacrosse. And third favorite sport is football because it's the most popular sport in the US. And I didn't skip class to watch March Madness because I don't even have class, or I don't go to it. And I didn't watch baseball because it's the most boring sport. I can't even watch baseball. I'd rather watch paint dry. And top sport in Asia is baseball.